What the hell is up? Y'all know what time it is. Talk Shit Tuesday. What up, everybody? Big shout out to all my people out there in the Shark Tank. Big shout out to all my people out there in the Shark Tank. Big shout out to all my people out there on the back street. Y'all don't forget to hit that like button. Do not forget to hit that like button. To all my back people on the back street, let you know I see you. Y'all got to excuse me. I don't have my list in front of me, so I can't go down through all my good people over there in the Shark Tank. But let me get this night started out right, because tonight is Talk Shit Tuesday. Hey, look here. I know everybody, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. The video, you know, the PBK had on the show with the news conference with about the South Carolina situation. I'm bringing that up because I was just happened, you know, I dropped in, I was checking it out, and I was watching the dude, the one guy on the end. He seemed like he knew what he was talking about, but it's what was, it was so many things said that for you guys, hopefully y'all got to understand the conditions that lead to some of the problems that hurts this American Pit Bull dog community. First of all, first and foremost, you know, some of the big ones like the Ricky Jones was a big example of when you get the alphabet team or the alphabet family involved in your misdealings leads to other problems. See, I don't think they invest all that time and money investigating anybody for just dogs. Now, I heard during that interview or during that news conference, how the guy kept bringing up David Tant. Guys got books. Guys did this. Guy did that. For South Carolina, I guess that's a big thing. But again, I don't remember David Tant dealing with drug issues. I think he was strictly dealing with dog issues. My man Ricky, you know, if you know the story, how they got up on Ricky, you know, you got drugs, counterfeit money that led to that situation. Because again, in the Ricky Jones situation, knowing what we know now, that show started on Friday and didn't end till Sunday morning. So that means they had Friday, all night Friday and Saturday. And from my understanding, they had been watching the place at the whole time, but they didn't hit that mountain until I think Monday morning, after everybody left. It's funny to me that I think it was so many people there, they just didn't know how to handle it. So they felt like it was easier and better on them to wait till Monday morning. But I bring that up because, you know, you hear these stories and then you get a chance to see how they take a situation. If you was explaining the American Pit Bull Terrier, the way he was trying to explain the American Pit Bull Terrier, and this American Pit Bull Terrier community as a whole, you know, it makes the dog look, you know, and the people make the dog look like it's helpless, for one, and how they can just turn you into just one of the cruelest people in the world. Now, I've been around these dogs the majority of my life. Been around dog men, American Pit Bull Terrier dog men, a majority of my life. And it's just impossible to believe that you can take one bad apple and then seed everybody, just lump everybody in that group. And then I guess that's supposed to be the umbrella that us as dog men fell under. You know, making the dogs do this and making the dogs do that. And, you know, if y'all notice, yeah, if anybody ever, have y'all ever seen a pit bull on a hog? You know, that you would think that that hog was a defenseless animal, and it's cruel to have 2, 3 pit bulls on his ass. Okay, but the dog is doing what it does, just like the hog or the boar, whatever y'all want to call it, is doing what it does. You know, any animal is either fight or flight, but that's what hog hunting is. You turn the dog loose, you let him get out there and find the hog, and he's supposed to get that hog and treat that hog or do whatever it is he's supposed to do to that hog for the hunter to get there. And for me, it's when the hunter gets there is where all the cruelty began, because he need to hurry up and get there, because some of them hogs, you know, they monsters. So who should I feel sorry for? The dog or the hog? Well, I be feeling sorry for the dog, because it's, you know, that dog got hell on his hands dealing with that hog. And if you ever seen, you know, a pit bull trying to take down a hog, it is not that simple. Many dogs can be hurt by a hog. And you very rarely see a pit bull get up in the hog throat and stay in the hog without some help. You know, once you take that fatal shot and drop that hog, yeah, that pit bull might go into the neck, because he's not dealing with the resistance anymore. He feel like he's done his job and he's going in to finish his job. Now, I'm not advocating, nothing pertaining to trying to say, pit bull matchmaking back in the day was supposed to be some type of good thing. Because growing up in this, it was like it was a norm. I never felt that the cruelty issue was about what two dogs did. I always felt like the cruelty issue was always left to the handler part. And all people, all people aren't good people, even in this community. And over the years, how we used to frown on people who, down dog, just over, referee need to step in. Like any other competitive match, you see a beat down, you see the referee jump in there and he throw his hands up in boxing, he calls it off. You see it in MMA. I think to me those are two brutal sports where the referee controls the situation. He jumps in there and he's going to wave his hand, or you're going to do the tap tap. Now we all know in this community that very, very, very rarely did you see DOAs in the pit. Very rarely. Because most of the time, most good dog men knew if they were going to win or lose. That they would automatically jump in and wave a hand or ask the referee, you know, let me get a scratch to continue. You know, there was always them one, or they would just literally quit. It was never to the point of brutality from my standpoint. And take it like I'll never claim to be an expert, but I do know that the majority of the dog men that I knew, it was always about the dog first, always, you know, and like I said, the integrity and the honor and the loyalty and just the love of the game is was the basic mindset back in the day. But I listened to the news conference, and man, it's almost like there's no rebuttal to the ridiculous shit that was spewing out that man's mouth. And when I say ridiculous, I mean, I can't tell you about what the individuals, you know, situation that each individual had their own different situations. But the part that kind of got to me is he was trying to explain what was actually happening in the dog fighting community over, you know, through history. And, you know, my reply would always take me back to where it was just a misdemeanor, fellas. Back in the days that we started, back in 1980 something. It was like a misdemeanor. And then think about that. I said the 80s. Now think, this shit was going on way back from 1920. So you got the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. That this went on with no regards to what was humane or not. Remember, I told you they had big shows in the Madison Square Garden, big shows all over the country, and to talk about it, you know, it's almost like talking about the UFC when it first started. You know, remember all that started back from, I got my boy over here, Bobo, and then I got Nut Knuck over here. And we're going to see who's going to come out on top, bare knuckle and everything, and we're going to get it in. You know? And it's almost like it was an underground thing. You know, people bet on people. Now look how big that sport has become. It's a big sport now. I mean, worldwide. Not saying that, you know, we're supposed to be smarter than the dogs, because the dogs, from my experience and what I've learned over the years, is training them to do what was naturally built in them is not what I was calling cruel, or making or training a pit bull to fight. You know, if you're not careful with your pit bull, even nowadays, and you can have the nicest pit bull out there in the world, it still has that, it's going to have that prey drive if you don't have that dog under control. And it's not nothing that you taught him. It's going to be something that's already born in him. These are things that I want people to understand, and don't get caught up in that crazy hype that it took all these years for these dog men and these great dogs to do what they did based on what we were teaching them to do. No, no, because a good pit bull will run down a hog or any damn thing else because they don't know no better. It's just that thing, that prey drive in them, which made them the ultimate Spartan, the ultimate gladiator. That's what drew people to, and I think what helped along the popularity of the American Pit Bull Terrier. I still believe that the faults never is going to be on the dog. It's always going to be on the man with the dog. You know, if you don't clean up, if you're not taking care, or your yard is terrible, your dogs look terrible, and at the same time, you got drugs, guns, and money, and just being reckless and careless. That news conference should give y'all an idea of what it actually sounds like and looks like when you're presenting the downfall of the American Pit Bull Terrier to the public. It looks crazy and it sounds crazy. And remember, a couple shows ago, I was making that comment about the change and the equipment and the medicine and how they kept bringing up, like the medicine. I never could understand why medicine was such an issue when the average person that has a dog, they're going to have some type of warmer and they're going to have some type of pest control, whether it be a flea collar or the drops, they're going to have it, regardless of what type of dog you have. My thing is, there's just certain things you're going to have when it comes to dogs, period. But because it's an American Pit Bull Terrier, it's got to be part of the dog fighting thing if you have these types of medicines around. And we know how these dogs get sick. We know how these dogs have skin conditions. We know how these dogs are like, they're not like your average dog because of the breeding programs that's over the years. And we've seen enough pedigrees and we go back enough that you're going to see that breeding program is not like we're taking something else and throwing it in there and we coming out with some other type of dog. This bloodline stayed pretty much pure. When I say pure, I mean American Pit Bull Terrier. Bred a certain type of way with a certain type of purpose. And it was bred like that over many, 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 many years. Understanding that men were taking the best of what they were doing and they were trying to create the ultimate warrior. That's all it was all about. That's all it could have possibly been about. Same thing, no different than cockfighting. These are things that have been around for many, many years, and I never got into cockfighting. Didn't really understand, seeing two, understanding two chickens going at it, and did they breed? Is it something they were bred like? And I got a little bit of an understanding because just like the American Pit Bull Terrier, cockfighting was pretty much the same way. These were bred cocks that had that, that one part in that trait that made them different than your average cock. Now, I speak on this because, man, look, with all the craziness that we go through on Facebook And on this channel here, we talk about the history, and we go all the way back. We go back to a time period that this stuff was still going on, and we experienced a lot of it because we happen to live it. And then you have to understand that to be in it, there was a responsibility that came with it. And so a lot of these great dog men knew that. Because if the dog wasn't shit, then why would people be stealing the dogs? People only steal cars for a purpose. Either they don't have a ride and they need a ride and they go out and steal one, because that makes you a professional to me. You're a professional thief. You needed a ride, you go steal a ride. Or you're going to steal a high-end car because that high-end car is going to bring you the money. Because I just can't see anybody who steals a car and just rides around in the car and think it's going to be their car forever. Like at some point, somebody's not going to realize this car is missing and you didn't change the tag. It's the same color. It's going to be the same car, and this car has been reported stolen. That car gets pulled over, boom. That's a little bit different because that's a person who brings to me shame on the car thief game, because you stole a car, and instead of you getting the car to, like I said, one of two ways. You stole in the car because you didn't have one to get where you wanted to get where you got to get, and then you get out the car. No, you was one of them. Was you one of them that get the car to go get it, to sell it to get some money? No, you weren't one of them. No, you was that stupid one that was running around in the car, high-end car, knowing it ain't yours, and get caught still riding in it. See, that's the way the American Pit Bull Terrier community became. It began to do something like it was just okay. Well, it ain't been okay for quite some time. But just because you have a lot of them out there, because it is, it didn't make, it just wasn't something I would clump everybody that was in the dogs thought like that, because they didn't. Most of them took, the majority of them that I knew personally, them dogs, that was like their family. How could you do that to your family? Man, this dog probably eat better than anybody in your family. Because that you took that much care and you paid that much attention to owning, maintaining that dog, because that dog had a purpose for you. Now, times have changed. Understandable. There's not too many things in life that has changed. I always said that at one time, liquor was illegal. Underground fighting was illegal. Dog fighting for many, many years was not considered to be illegal. These men had shirts and ties, and y'all seen how they buckled up. It was like they was going to church. And you see some of the old time pictures, you look at them, they was in shirt and ties, man. But then I also look at a lot of things that we call cruel or unusual. Well, this country was built on cruel and unusual. From slavery to the way they did the Indians. So they don't want y'all talking, they don't want nobody to talk about that. Nobody wants to hear that. Just like when it comes down to the history of these dogs. If you're going to talk about the history of the dogs, then be truthful about it. Because not every dog man kept a shitty yard. Not every dog man was mistreating their dogs. You take my man, old man Tudor, for instance. You know the story on him back in Oklahoma. Yeah, he used to run his little moonshine. But imagine what it was like for them during the Great Depression and you got a family to feed. But you also got a yard full of dogs because them dogs was doing things for you that you couldn't get out and do for yourself simply because the economy, the lack of jobs. Hell, during the Great Depression, if you had money and they got caught up in the bank, you lost your money. How are you supposed to survive? Those are bad times for everybody, but they made it work. And a lot of great dogs came out of that era. A lot of great dogs became popular because of the situation and that era. And in order to feed your family, you wanted to have the better dog because the name of the sport was to have the best dog, just like it is in boxing or any other sport. It's always anything that's going to have competitive, you're looking to be the best. This is how they were feeding their families. This is how they were getting by. And then you start raising them, and then everybody looks at you and be like, yeah, he's got good dogs. Now you can sell your puppies. But now we're in an age of now that to sell a pit bull for the purpose of fighting, promoting fighting, transporting for the purpose of fighting, the law just kind of makes it clear, basically, of what they consider a dog fighter. I don't think the law pays much attention to the fact that a lot of these men are fighting dogs. If you look back on the history, not all dog men fought their dogs. They might have bred them and was raising them. Remember I told y'all where Satan and them come from. Satan, BJ, Charlie, they had ties into that same Luther, Grand Champion Luther, Grand Champion Duke, Grand Champion Dolomite. That man didn't really, he just was raising dogs. And look what kind of dogs they were. It wasn't the fact that he was raising them for the purpose of dog fighting. No. It was a family bloodline, and they just had been breeding them dogs like that for over years and years. And every once in a while, some of them got out and got into certain people's hands, and they turned out to be some damn good dogs. You know, see that storyline? You don't ever want to become a part of that storyline, because that storyline doesn't have no defense when they got the podium. When they got the podium, there's no defense, because your story will not be told on that podium. Your story is going to be judged in the court of law. And we know how that is. You know, they say justice is blind, but we know better than that. You know, they just don't show you that the little blinds you got over their head, you know, the one end is cocked up, it's cocked open where, you can see out of it, you can see. You know, the scale always supposed to be like even, but because of that little cock part, where your eyes supposed to be covered, it kind of leans that way. And that's the reality of it. So you don't bring nothing but more harm and a bigger injustice to yourself when you have other factors involved. And it's not something that I'd be ashamed of because I was a kid basically back then, growing up to be an older man through years and years of the sport. A lot of us was like that. A lot of us. And even when it became illegal to the point in 1976, it really didn't start hitting us to where it started making a difference. And to be honest with y'all, I wouldn't even say the late 80s. I would say the mid 90s because it was so much of it going on. You know, think about that. The mid 90s. The law was passed, I think, in 76, but look, we were still in the 80s, where it became a misdemeanor, and really wasn't nobody saying nothing. To where it got to the 90s, where everybody's doing it. It's all on the movies and people portraying it, and then by the time the 90s come around, now they all in videos and movies and everything. Now the pit bull, he got that, what I call glorious tag. Everybody wanted a pit bull. The movies portrayed them, to be a certain type of way. Folklore portray them to be a certain type of way. But we living in 2025 now. And we having news conferences just trying to explain David Tant. I'm not trying to put no poison on Tom, but to me, it was no difference between Floyd, Pat, any of us that was breeding dogs about in those time periods. A lot of those guys were just breeding them. Because they were what they were. They were good. They were breeders of great, good pit bulls. And I think that's the same factor that we breeding program, well, basically the same breeding program that we have dealt with up until now, 2025. Because I don't know what the future's going to bring. Because I don't know how the people are going to be breeding them for the purpose of their breeding. I'm just speaking on the fact that in the now, that purpose hasn't changed from the purpose of the 1920s, 1900s. You're still going to be breeding that American Pit Bull and qualifying that American Pit Bull Terrier based on the traits of the American Pit Bull Terrier that made the American Pit Bull Terrier what it is today. So I just felt like y'all see what that looks like. You hear the things that they say. Now, the average person that's sitting in the damn jury, that shit sounded crazy. That we have to make these dogs do what they do. We have to train them to do what they do. Sometimes it looks so brutal. Me as early into this, and I seen the dog fight for the very first time. I did not see brutality. I'm just saying from my standpoint. I don't know how other people look at it. But from my standpoint, I seen like if they had been like human beings. I seen them wrestle. I seen them think. I seen them protect themselves. It wasn't meat all over the floor and all blood all over the walls and all that craziness. Hell, y'all ever pay attention to see what the UFC octagon looked like when it first start, before the fight starts, you see what the cage look like. But before the night over, do you see what that cage be looking like? Look almost like the box. You know, you could tell there was some bleeding over here because they can't really clean it up right then. It just be there. You wipe up what you can, but blood just don't wipe up like that. And they're not going to wet the floor to try to clear it all up. No, you just see the resemblance, and you can walk in there and yeah, they had a fight last night. Okay, that's common for back in the day. Some guys they was using carpet. Sometimes some people was using the wood. Yeah, of course, they were fighting dogs. That was the name of the sport. So, but the brutality of meat hanging around and like it was, nah, it just didn't seem like that to me. And then to take a dog and go get a dog and a mud or something and tape their mouth up, and then I guess you're supposed to feed that to your pit bull. To me, that's cruel. Never knew anybody who did that kind of shit. Never seen anybody say that type of shit. Or even done it. Because for what? What would be the purpose of doing something like that? Except for you are being cruel and unusual and ignorant and stupid. And yep, you deserve to go to jail because it is stupid, cruel, and unusual. Doing it like that. Just never was a part of that. And to hear them put it out there like, that's what we do. This is how we train them to do that. That's not true. And I speak for the majority of the community. That's not true. Not sitting here trying to advocate for the dog fighters. No, because again, remember, there was a time when it wasn't illegal, and I came in and where it was still a misdemeanor. It was still a misdemeanor, y'all. And look at the kind of people that I met along the way. I told y'all. A lot of professional people. A lot of people from all shapes and sizes and different colors and nationalities. And it went on for many, many, many years. So, eradication of the dog, no. I think that is what they're trying to do, but I think it's almost impossible because if you got a pit bull and you love a pit bull, you don't want to see your pit bull wind up in a situation that somebody got to take it just because it's a pit bull. It's too many of them out here. Remember, we can go take pit bulls all the way back to god dang and the little rascals. They RCA had a pit bull as what they called it. As a head sponsor. RCA had the pit bull with the little thing sitting right there. They had that for many years. So yeah, there's a good side of the dog. They remember they was bred with that in them. So if that is that trait, that's that trait that becomes a part of them. What makes them so lovable? Because they are lovable animals, very lovable. But in the same token, they also love what they did. That other part, whether it was chasing a hog, chasing a rabbit, chasing whatever. And then everything but a human being. Because for me, you really have to kind of train a pit bull to want to bite people. To me, that's what you call training. You're training to do something that it's naturally not meant to do. Like, to me, all dogs will bite. I got a little one around here. I'm telling you, she will bite your ass. She's not a pit bull. My pit bull was totally deterred as much as with her growing up. And I told y'all, human accidents I had with her, but that's because of that fire in her, and look at the situations behind when they do that. Because, like all dogs, you have to be able to train them to do certain things that they feel like they can do. You say, I'm the alpha around my house. And we don't fight for who's taking the alpha spot. So that's where the correction comes in. That's the part I'm training. That part to where I need that part under control. I don't need you to be out there acting a damn fool on every dog that you see or every person that walks down the street. You snarling and snatching and pulling because you want to go eat up a human being. I don't have much problems when you're doing it with a squirrel or a cat or even another dog. I don't have no problem with it. That's what the purpose of the leash is for. That's what the purpose of having a breaking stick. I know just how dangerous this animal could be. It can be the sweetest animal in the world, but that because of that trait, I still am responsible for that dog's actions. I'm okay with that because the responsibility don't fall on the dog. It falls on me. And I don't have no problem with that. And I don't think any dog man should ever have a problem with that part of it because you're supposed to be able to understand and know these dogs. Know your own damn dog and be responsible. See, a lot of the times the people aren't being responsible and this kind of stupid shit happens and it just gives a black eye on the whole game. But no, not everybody's like that. No, that game was not to that degree. That, yeah, there were some bad apples, but every time I was around, and even me myself would not let cruel and unusual ever be a part of something I stood by and just watch and didn't say something. No, we're going to not only say something, we're going to do something. Because to me, that's some cur-ass bullshit. I don't care what you do when or what the situation is. You pick that dog up and you take him home. What you do with it after that is on you. But nobody should be audience to anybody that's being cruel and unusual. And back in my day, very rarely seen it. When it was seen, it was really dealt with. I mean, sometimes dealt with in a kind of a major way because how some people is, it's my dog, I do it on. No, it ain't gonna be like that tonight. So my thing is the history of this game might not be peaches and cream to everybody. I don't have any defense to that. That was just a part of life. That was a part of the history. That was a part of the game. That was a part of the dog. But not everybody who has these dogs should have that to be worried about because they are still loving, beautiful companions. And just a beautiful breed. That's all. And I think we should handle them accordingly. When I say handle them accordingly, that means making sure they have water, making sure they have a good living arrangements, making sure that you just are a good person and lovable person to the dog that loves you. Because these dogs do love you. I ain't gonna lie to you. I used to always feel like because of the time we spent is the reason why they fought so hard. Because they were always trying to please you. Because we spent that much time. And no, we didn't spend that much time training them how to do shit. We spent that much time by showing them love. You see when you get one and you take it out for a walk, how that tail be out there swinging. and they just got that look on their face because they out getting around. They love it, and they love you for loving them to give them the chance to do that. That's the love of the dog, man. So I don't ever substitute the bullshit for the real shit. Because everybody, it's more of the real shit than it is when it came down to a whole bunch of the bullshit. And the only way you would ever understand and know what that feels like and know what that means, you have to be a part of it. You have to be the owner of an American Pit Bull Terrier. Wouldn't care if it's cur or how it was bred or nothing. It's still an American Pit Bull Terrier. And it's always going to be the responsibility of the owner, the handler, the keeper. So, not taking nothing away from the news conference like it was something that was unusual, because the stories is always going to be like that. The ones that generally make the TV, it's just a damn shame that there's always got to be drugs involved with the whole alphabet section. I'm just not a fan of just trying to see how that helps the community, knowing that the minute you get in trouble, this is what you're going to get. Because at this point in time, and nowadays, like any other illegal activity that you might find yourself in, I wouldn't give a damn if it wasn't nothing but a traffic stop. You're going to be guilty until you prove yourself innocent. You know, Lady Justice always been like that. Yeah, you guilty as hell. You know, that even when they be having a probable cause hearings, what's the probable cause? Even that sideways, grand jury shit sideways. Because they always get a chance to tell their story. And their story generally always sounds like the guy who was standing up there, or all of them that was standing up there during that news conference. Look at the drugs and the guns and the money and the felonies and all that led to. But the majority of that conversation was based on dogs. Knowing damn well the dogs don't mean nothing to them people. Nothing at all. But during that news conference, the dogs were a major talking point. Not the fentanyl, not the cocaine, not the weed, not the pills, not the other opioids and everything else they found. No, we ain't gonna. That's every day. That's everyday kind of. We gonna go over here to the dogs because these dogs is the reason that these drugs are around. Well, the drugs was there before the dogs was. I'm just telling you. The drugs journey was there long before the dogs got there. Remember Prohibition? Even back in the day, in the early 80s, y'all know drugs was running rapid. For anybody who knows and lived back in that time period, you know, the 80s and the 90s, man, you know, that was a drug dealer's dream. For that time period. Why? Because y'all know the story behind it. How did it get here? We didn't make it. We don't have boats and ships and shit to bring the shit over here. So, you know, it was always going to be some type of conspiracy tied to it and how it actually happened. But just like this game. Maybe because of the people changed. Maybe how they was playing the game. You know, we went from a gentleman's sport and a Saturday, Sunday activity after church to, I guess, a gambling situation. I always thought it was looked at as a sport because, hell, you know, for a bag of dog food, for a special type of belt buckle, I mean, for $200-300, these things that's how easy it was. That's what it meant. You put that little money that meant a lot to them people. Meant a lot to that man and his dog, his gladiator. It wasn't all about the money. It was the fact that his gladiator did that for him. That's the history, fellas. And there's many books to talk about that history. Many books, many videos, many stories, many people's different versions. There's just so much of it that it's not even funny. But that's the history. What the future looks like, who am I to say? The future of these dogs is still going to be based on what the community does to shine a new public light on them. I hear a lot of guys talking about, what the new dog's going to look like. Well, okay. But before the new dog is ever going to look any different, we got to stop going back here using that part, because you notice how they use that against you. He's off a champion so-and-so. That right there, that part right there is what kind of just, ugh. I mean, how far back are we going to hear this about champion so-and-so? Which brings me to the other point that we're going to be talking about tonight, because my other point that I wanted to get into with y'all tonight is a dog that I always felt was outside of Tudor's Dibo. There's one dog that I think had a big major influence on the American Pit Bull Terrier. And I could say I kind of learned that early in the game. I mean, very early. You're talking about back in 1982. It might have been 1980. I know I was still in the service then, so I would say 1980. 82 is when I got transferred, not out of the service, but to another post while I was out of the country for 2 years. But that dog, for me, y'all, I'm going to show y'all this dog right here. I'm going to let Mo talk about it. Mo, but this dog right here, Carver's Ironhead. Now, this dog right here, it says Ironhead was one of the best dogs of Maurice Carver, and his descendants confirmed it. Well, I never, I remember being around the guys in North Carolina, and even some of our I think Mo had a 16th generation pedigree, and you seen Ironhead, Carver's Ironhead all over it. And then, you look at Big Ben, Mr. Old Man Triplet. And that's another thing. When I talk about Old Man Triplet, when I see Old Man Mr. Triplet's name on some of these old advertisements and stuff, I think about how old the man actually was when I met him, and to know that his whole entire life, and he still had Ben on the yard where I actually seen Stevenson's Big Ben, you think, damn, look how long that man been doing and dealing with these dogs. That shows you, man, these dudes was diehard. But you look at Ironhead, man, and look at all the great dogs in this pedigree. All of them. And then you look at his offspring. That Carver's Mini, that's Hyde's Mini. That Hyde Satch. It's Carver's Satch, but it's still Hyde. This is all the shit that's coming off of Ironhead. And you will see a lot of these dogs, at least the great ones, and other great dogs' pedigree. You see her. There she go. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to let Mo talk about that. Let Mo talk about that, because this was one of my all-time favorites, because they talk and spoke of this dog highly, which made me go back and even for myself. Back then, when I didn't really know shit, I wanted to know about Ironhead. Like I wanted to know about Searchy Jeff. Look, I mean, once you read the history on these, there's certain dogs that stood out, like going like Barney, Searchy Jeff, and another one for me was this dog right here, Carver's Ironhead, because this dog here had a lot to do with a lot of the great dogs that we actually was dealing with back there in the early 80s. Now, I don't remember when Ironhead actually got stolen, but I know in a couple of them pedigrees we had, Ironhead was in like the second and third generation. So that go to show you something, that he was a highly sought out, you know, bloodline even back then. But look at him. I mean, the picture doesn't really show you that widow's peak and all that you be like, you be like, damn. We talk shit about that look nowadays, but back then, you stop and look at him and you think about, well, damn, he ain't even a black dog. Nope, he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't even a black dog, y'all. But he had that same old widow's peak. And he was a producer. I mean, the blood was strong. Now, I don't know, come on, let's take, I don't usually do this part. I let Mo do this part, but just to just give you an idea, looking at that Arizona Pete and that Rascal back here in the fourth generation, and then you look at that bottom and you still got Dibo in the fourth, third, and the second. You know what I mean? With the blind Billy, the Black Widow. I mean, we know these dogs now. Remember, when you stop and say, when I say Black Widow, remember, I go back and do Black Widow the same way I did Dibo. Look at her. And there she go right here in the fourth. Right? She's also in the second. So it was just these certain type of dogs, man, that when you start looking at your pedigrees and you think back there in our time period when you didn't have all the, these dogs was like fresh to the scene. You can't really talk about the history because the history hadn't been made for us back then. We just knew based on the area that we was in and where we were, these dogs are highly sought after, just like Dibo. For us, you can't be in the game and not know about Dibo. That's first and foremost. But Ironhead was another one of them type of dogs. No way you can be in this game and not be able to not talk about Ironhead. Remember, all this for us was in Carolina. So, they had a whole lot of Carver shit down there. Don't know how, knew their relationship with old Maurice. But I know there was a whole lot of that shit down there. Even old Cheryl Powell, even when dealing with his Hetrick shit, he had some of that shit hiding over there. It's just so many guys that just had good dogs back then that were worthy of talking about, that led to a lot of the great dogs we had. But by just looking at that pedigree and then looking with history, the results of that after all these years. And he wasn't really bred that much. Maybe, because he got stolen. But that dog right there was a hell of a producer. And I don't ever see the ROM behind his name. But we already know he definitely was an ROM dog. And one thing I learned about them Carver dogs, for some odd reason, Every once in a while, you're going to have that loser in there who can still produce. Now, I never knew. They said Ironhead actually was a one-time or a two-time winner. Now, I don't never hear anybody speak of that, but back then that was the talk. Now, why, he wasn't fought anymore, or what made him just stop breeding, I don't, never knew that story. Would have loved to talk to Maurice about the situation, but there was enough guys out there who knew, they might have things to say about Maurice, but you never knew what Maurice was up to. But a lot of great dogs came off this dog right here. He was just one of my favorites, and that's why I bought him up. Because, again, think about a dog like that on your yard. How many of you guys would just love to have a dog like that? Him up there, you don't see no champion up there. You just see Carver's Ironhead. But knowing what you know now, I don't know. I don't know why Carver kept him close at hand, but if you just look at him, hold on, look like I froze. Did freeze. I'm froze. Hold on. Stay with me. Okay. I think I'm back. Okay, am I back? I'm back. I should be back right about now. Come on. Hmm. I'm supposed to be back now. Okay, because I'm over here just a moving like. Hello. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Yeah, I'm back. It's a little slow catching up, y'all. Forgive me for that. You know how this thing go when you start moving it around, acting all crazy and everything. But yeah, my man Mo finna jump in here. Been out all day. I even see my boy in here hooting snake right there. Ironhead, Miss Spike, that ROM great litter. It's a bunch of them in there, but I'll let him talk about it because that's what he do. You know what I'm saying? That's what he do. I don't know, my YouTube must be behind like a mug because it's still sitting on one thing over there. And I don't look like I am froze. Yeah, I guess I'm right there. Yeah, I'm back though. Yeah, so get back on this situation right here. Just that Carver's Ironhead was just one of them dogs I used to just go and just try to figure out why they talk so much about him. And then over the years, you know, being in Carolina, we was maybe that's why we wound up dealing with a lot of them black dogs anyway, because Blood and BA and them, they were black. I think that's the only black shit outside of Ratchet that we owned that was black. Well, no, because Pressure, she was black, and Timex was black. Yeah, Satan was black. Well, but we didn't own Satan. We had Timex. But Black dogs just wasn't our thing after a while. But these dogs here, I talk about them simply because I know Ironhead wasn't a black dog. And to hear people talk about them Whittle Peak dogs, I be laughing because I'm like, well, for me, I laugh because remember way back then, I didn't really know what for all pit bulls, I thought they all, they were supposed to look a certain way. Well, they didn't look a certain way back in my time. Remember, I seen the one Blue that had the blue eye like Snooty before Pope. I seen him again in Ohio. But yeah, you know, that was a norm for us back then. When you're learning and you're seeing that, it's not nothing unusual. It's it's funny to hear people look at them little peak dogs now and have so much to say about it. But back then, it was kind of like wasn't no shock because you know back then who I know we back on now. Yeah, y'all. Okay, everybody. I think we back. I had to dive in, go save my man. Okay, guys. I think we back up. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and reiterate where Mike was. Take y'all back over here to another offspring of Ironhead. Um, I think this is one of the nicer crosses right here. This cross right here was a good cross. You know what I mean? No. Ironhead to Miss Spike. The reason I liked it, the Ironhead to Miss Spike, because we see a lot of this stuff right here. You know, I'm always diving in pedigrees, taking on these journeys, and you always hear me saying dogs like this dog here always pops up. This dog here always pops up. This little connection right here seems to always pop up. And if you notice,
It's one of those kind of lines where, I'm always digging for greatness. You know, but even in this pedigree, we don't see a bunch of titles. We don't see a bunch of registered merits. We don't see a bunch of match dogs. But just imagine the combination in the way they were breeding. You know, I used to I used to just sit there and when I was studying pedigrees, I used to just sit there and just pick out, was these dudes really sitting down studying? What do y'all think? Or was they just sitting there matching up just good breed, just good breedings? Was they really studying the pedigree? Because it looks like it to me. It looks like it to me. When you look back and you see the way these dogs is bred, the way they use Diabo in these breedings, you see, Diabo, Diabo, Diabo. I mean, do you ever wonder, for Maurice Carver not to really be paying attention to his paperwork, just had a bunch of pedigrees. But do you really think he was really paying attention? Do you really think that, was he building a foundation really coming by way of Diabo? Because you look in a lot of things that he was doing, would look like he knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? That steady guy. And I'm always saying, everything has a formula to it. I was just wanting to know, do they all have a formula? Was they really paying attention? Like Floyd, it's the first time you see Floyd Boudreaux with Blind Billy show up. And then when you see Floyd back here now, you don't see him nowhere else. Would you think that this is where Floyd, and keep in mind now, Floyd Boudreaux sitting there with his son up a Diabo. Couldn't win. He won one, he lost one. I don't see that GL. I just see L. We don't know whether he quit, whether he game pickup, or you know what I'm saying. We just know he lost. And why take a loser? Looking at Floyd, looking at the situation. Ask yourself that. What do y'all think? And how was Floyd able to slide in there and make a breeding that Maurice Carver was impressed with? You know what I'm saying? To even bring it back. You know what I'm saying? Was Floyd young? You look at Floyd, then you look at Maurice Carver and Earl Tudor. So it kind of reminds me of like Fat Bill. Fat Bill got around and he was real knowledgeable. He was real close to a lot of these old dog men. He was like the young guy running around with all a bunch of old guys. And came up. But do you ever ask yourself, with Maurice Carver, when you see that Floyd Boudreaux's blind Billy up in there, do it ever surprise y'all with all the dogs that Maurice Carver was dealing with? How did Floyd pop up right there in this time? You gotta give him his props now. You got to give Floyd his props. This might have been one of the first dogs Floyd Boudreaux had. Anybody ever thought about that? See how far back Floyd was and how he turned into the Maurice Carver? No, that's a good point. Good question. And did he learn from Maurice Carver? Because if it was me and I was looking at this pedigree, I'd have been proud of me if I was sitting over there in this pedigree like Floyd Boudreaux is over there with Blind Billy. Knowing that, I say it like this. I follow a lot of things the old dog men did with their dogs. Watching how they did it and what they did and learning, the different ways that they was putting this stuff together. Knowing that when we go back and look at most of the dogs in all our pedigrees, when we go to diving back, we see these same old familiar people. And it kind of makes me believe that Floyd Boudreaux really learned a lot by watching Maurice Carver. Floyd Boudreaux learned a lot about how to breed a good dog. Floyd Boudreaux proved many things because to me, he followed the Maurice Carver syndrome. Like me following what Hardcore did in their breedings to get the dogs that they got that they grew on. Dogs like Stone City, the dogs that they got that they grew on. You know what I'm saying, y'all? There's so many like O'Down Maloney. Look at these guys and wonder, did they pick up the school book and catch on to Maurice Carver and Earl Tudor and the way they were doing their breedings? And I also asked myself, the Fitzwater Goatee dog, how relevant he is, because he pops up too in all these pedigrees. All these pedigrees. And I always say, you have to look at the person with the female. It's always going to be the issue when it comes down to that female. How good was those Heinzel dogs that Tudor recognized? Wonder what they was doing back then. Back then when you got Bambi and Bounce, Cannon's Black Shine, Amber Girl, you know what I'm saying? That produced Black Widow. Y'all ever ask yourself, put yourself in back then in that time, You know, because me, I put myself back in that time, and I guess that's how I study the pedigrees, because I'm always putting myself in their position, in their place. And I'm asking myself, what was it? Because to breed good foundation dogs, such as these right here, that show up in so many great dogs' pedigrees, in some type of form, some type of manner, as being a part of a program, breeding program. Breeding program. I mean, because to be a breeder and to be able to produce good dogs, he had to have an understanding. He had to have an understanding. And for Maurice to just grab a paper out the damn drawer and pass it off to any dog, you know, because probably didn't know half the dogs that was bred on his yard. I mean, it's hard to believe that, you know, that he was able to do that without actually knowing what he was doing. He wasn't just throwing dogs together. He couldn't have been just throwing dogs together, y'all. He couldn't. And this is one of those type of pedigrees from Ironhead all the way down to Miss Spike. I can see Maurice Carver following Earl Tudor. And I could see Floyd Boudreaux following Maurice Carver. Can y'all see that? We see Floyd way back here with a son off a Diabo. You don't see Floyd nowhere in his pedigree but one place. Yet Floyd goes on to become one of the great breeders, like Maurice Carver. Maurice Carver turned out to be a great breeder, like Earl Tudor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, I just want y'all to just look at that and understand the dogs is just in this pedigree alone. In this pedigree alone. How the combination of these breedings produce dogs that have such an impact. I mean, these dogs right here in this pedigree in its own right produce many of the great dogs that was going to be coming off of these type of dogs. So there's just no way that I can just look at this thing and say, no, Maurice Carver wasn't just grabbing dogs, throwing them together. He wasn't. I can say that and then in the same sentence be like, well, if the man didn't even know half the damn dogs on the yard, well, he could just grab a paper here or there. It's hard for me to believe that looking at the way he's breeding. Just looking at the way he's breeding. I mean, to me, he's picking up educational moves from Earl Tudor. And then, again, I have to bring it back again. Earl Tudor, Maurice Carver, Floyd Boudreaux. Floyd Boudreaux, he's a young whippersnapper in this scenario. But just think, at an early part of his career, he's playing with some dogs. Even though we ain't got but one dog over here, Blind Billy, this line of dogs right here went on. Floyd was able to pick up where Earl Tudor left off. Maurice Carver picked up the helm. Then where Maurice Carver left off, Floyd Boudreaux picked up the helm. 3 major names. You got to admit that. You got to be able to see that. And then say, these guys literally was really feeding off of each other. Had to be. Was Maurice Carver going over there buying these dogs? Did he go over there and buy Miss Spike? You think he went over there and bought Miss Spike? You know? Was Maurice hanging around with Floyd Boudreaux and recognized something? Did he go over there? Or did and breed the blind Billy before he lost? And decided, hey, I like that guy. He had to like Floyd because he took a dog and bred to blind Billy. I mean, so Floyd had to be something worthy even back then. To breed a dog to Floyd Boudreaux. Y'all know what I'm saying? To breed a dog to Floyd Boudreaux. I mean, how many of us out here, when we breeding our dogs today, ever see a newcomer and say, you know, he got a good dog over there. He got a good dog over there. I'm going to go over there and breed him. Even though he don't know what he's doing yet. He just a man over there with good dogs. But he comes off the wing of Maurice Carver. You know, he comes off the wing of Maurice Carver. And then I say to myself, well, shit, Maurice Carver grabbing after him, but he's a product of Earl Tudor. You know what I'm saying? Do y'all ever really look at that? Because to be a great breeder, man, these are things that you have to see. You have to see. You know, we always got some scientific, mythology when it comes to the way we breed. The way we breed, I don't see a bunch of colors on this pedigree at all. But I see a bunch of greatness in these pedigrees. A bunch of greatness in this pedigree. And you cannot deny that, people. So when guys would be wanting to breed, this would be a good format to go back and study, knowing that so many directions that these dogs took off and the impact that they made all the way up here to 2025. 2025. And these dogs was around before I was born. It's just a good, to me, I just like looking at that pedigree. Because I learned so much from Pope that I couldn't really get the understanding of the real essence of a formula. Because a formula only consists of decisions. Decisions. That's what a formula is. A decision to make a breed. A choice of breeding. That says a lot. I think anybody who wants to be a great breeder has to know that. I think anybody who is a great breeder understood that. And I honestly believe they studied these old school dogmen's pedigrees. Like I studied these old guys' pedigrees. That's why I laugh when I'm always running around pulling out these dogs and showing you guys, key figures in some of these pedigrees, like Fitzwater Goldie. I'm talking about Fitzwater Goldie. We're talking about Indian Bolio in them. Grand Champion Buck. We see these dogs popping up in here. We see this dog popping up in lines of dogs. We can't just say Fitzwater Goldie was the foundation to the Buck stuff. When we got him still sitting over here hanging out in the Carver stuff, when Maurice Carver played a big part in all this stuff. But if it don't be for Earl Tudor setting the damn stage, because he had to learn a lot from Earl Tudor. He had to. You know what I'm saying? He just probably had the money to be able to make a whole bunch of dogs, like Pat Patrick did. Had the money in the yard and just went dog crazy. Just a bunch of damn dogs, Pat Patrick, Mountain Man, these dudes had yards just unbelievable. And we're just sitting back there just making connections, making breedings, making history. And then we sit back and we look at, in these newer lines of dogs. Remember, we have to go way back to the back and work our way to the front. But to do that in the beginning, you got to start from the front and work your way to the back. To know how you got there or how it got there, for you to understand what you need to do to get there. Because that's exactly what I noticed from STP, another great producer, because he produced his share of great dogs. Hardcore Kennels, Fletcher Chavis, Katie Marlowe, Lonzo Pratt, OJP Kobe, Mr. Cavino, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Sorrell, Bart Sorrell. Listen to the names. We go in every one of their pedigrees, guess what we gonna find? Somebody was paying attention. Somebody saw something that was being done and followed the trend. The LG dogs followed the trend. You know what I'm saying? Look how the banjo dogs followed the trend. Fletcher Chavis followed a trend. David Tant followed Fletcher Chavis trend. They're picking up pieces. Do we do that today? Can we say that's really being done today? Because back then, you don't see a bunch of champions littering up the pedigrees. It seems like the more we get away from the past, the more we're dressing up the pedigrees with their old results. We're taking, and we're the ones that's adding color to their old results, meaning that they had to have a strong foundation to be able to get us in the position to be able to turn around and start adding a lot of color to those pedigrees. We don't sit back with these type of pedigrees no more. Here and there, here and there. But don't be for that Carver and Tudor. You know what I mean? Come on now, keeping it real. Knowing damn well, if we were to try this shit ourselves and putting our name out there, what would we really have? Could we really do what Earl Tudor and even Floyd Boudreaux up there with Blind Billy? You really think that we could have pulled this shit together, y'all? And can we really say that they was really paying attention and really saw that there was a formula in what was really going on? Was it really? Was it really? Because it seemed like to me, our dolls got better because we started adding color. We started adding color. We started using winners. Winners. See, old Womack's Mert, for Womack's Mert with Fitzwater's Goatee, he had to make the choice to breed to Earl Tudor's spite. So there's no way in the world you're going to tell me this man didn't sit there with this bitch and say, hey, man, I got to go breed the Spike, a son off of Dibo? I'm pretty sure Floyd Boudreaux can sit back and say, I had a son off of Dibo. And yet we way up here in the 2020s, Floyd's still running around, popping up at shows, letting his legendary status give us the opportunity to see greatness. Yet at one time, he was just like us. Just like us. But when you come in there like this right here, amongst these type of people, these two, you can damn near tell that Floyd Boudreaux was a student. No way in the world you're going to tell me he wasn't a student. And he understood what Maurice Carver was doing. Maurice Carver was a student of Earl Tudor. There's no way in the world you're going to tell me that Maurice Carver wasn't learning on what Earl Tudor was doing with his Tudor dogs. Because there's not a whole bunch of color, that we damn near demand nowadays to see in a pedigree. We do. Come on now. Somebody try to get to come over here and buy a dog with very few winners, very few dogs that we don't even know, because that's exactly what's going on in here. And it seems like the greatest ones picked up. There's a lot that we don't see. And one thing we don't see is a whole lot of matching dogs up in these pedigrees right here. Yet these pedigrees right here created a whole bunch of lines that branched off this pedigree in itself. Branched off out of a tree of great dogs. Greatness. Anybody ask any questions? Know what they're saying?
My man Trevor. Big shout out to you, Trevor. Lehe. He said, They wrote handwritten pedigrees back then. Right. Write you a letter, told you what it was. They didn't write in color.
No, they didn't. And they sure didn't use match reports. You know what I'm saying? They sure wasn't using match reports. They sure as hell wasn't using match reports. There's no way in the hell you're going to tell me these dudes wasn't connected to that goddamn wooden square to make the breedings that they're sitting here making. There's no way in the world you're going to convince me that these dudes was doing this without the fact of what was going on in that wooden square. They had a position of understanding that it was important to be in that wooden square. That is the only way in the hell that you're sitting here making these type of breedings that were generational to the dog game of today. You ever thought about that? Did you really ever thought about that? Because we go back and look at these pedigrees that we play with now, and our pedigrees look a whole lot better than this. We know these dogs now. These dogs are older than all of us. They're older than our parents. And probably older than our parents' parents. But look how far we've came. Blind Billy. Look at him. The foundation of the Boudreaux Eli bloodline. Imagine Floyd sitting there with a son of Earl Tudor. Diabolical. Here he is way up here in the 2020s, showing up as the legendary man that he is. What made him run and grab this dog right here? That's exactly what he did. He went straight to the source. He did a move like I did with Victor. When I ran the Mayday, when I saw Mayday, he must have saw something in Diabo that he ran the Diabo. I want one of them. He had to. The Earl Tudor write the pedigree down on a piece of paper and hand it over to Floyd, like Floyd would understand what the hell he was talking about. Can we look at this pedigree and put ourselves in Floyd, Boudreaux, mind frame, mindset to why he wanted this dog? Knowing how Floyd is when it came to that box. He was on something. Because if you're paying attention, look at Bambi, the Heinzel. The Heinzel Bambi. This is old Earl here. Look what Earl doing. Look at old Hubbard's Bounce. Look how he's bred. Look at Richardson. These dudes knew something. If you go back, look at the Cavino stuff. These dudes, particular people. Brown, Richardson, Hubbard. You know what I'm saying? You see how they just continue to move forward? Boom. Then boom. Then boom. Now he picks it up. He's taking off. There's a formula right there. Many years ago. Set up this man right here for greatness. All because he was smart enough. Young enough to see something. He had to see something. Either he was seeing it or this man was saying it. I wonder if through all the interviews Floyd did, anybody ever heard a Floyd story? What made Floyd so impressed with Earl Tudor? Was he impressed with Earl Tudor because Earl Tudor was giving him pedigrees? Was Earl Tudor explaining to him about Bounce and Bambi and the Heinzel dogs? You think that's what was going on? Do you think Earl Tudor was telling Floyd, man, look, you ride with these. You ride with these, boy, I'm putting you on. Give a damn if they win or lose. These is going to be the future. Do you really think that somebody was telling Floyd Boudreaux this at such a young age? Knowing how influential he is to the wooden square. Because we know Earl was definitely a wooden square man. Definitely. And there's nowhere in the world you're going to tell me Hubbard wasn't, Richardson's wasn't, and the Heinzels wasn't. You're not going to tell me that they weren't. Because you see the very thing that we talk about when we say formula. And we always talking about formulas, but we always talking about it in the aspect of the dogs and the people who created them. A philosophy that I use today, and I'm showing you guys a philosophy that it wasn't nothing that I started. It was something that I learned to understand. Got all the right people in all the right places to pick up and move forward. You cannot beat that, guys. You just can't beat that. I just think that this is just impressive. Now look what Floyd did. He took his one-time winner, one-time loser, and started throwing his name on top of everything. You know what I'm saying? Look at those scrub over there. The worstest pair. This shit here, we wouldn't have never bought no shit off of this shit here. Y'all know it. You got the one-time losing daddy, and then you got Scrub, a one-time loser. And all these other dogs, you don't see not one damn dog. Not one damn dog. Floyd. Not one. Look at him. You don't see a goddamn mad dog in there nowhere. And when the ones you do see is a one-time winner, one-time loser, and one-time loser. But Lord have mercy. Double bread. Man starting to do smart things already. Paying attention, evidently. Tudor probably laughing at him. Boy, you better get you some wins, son. You got Blind Billy. You bring that damn Blind Billy dog, you damn near went 4 generations. You still ain't won shit with him. Blind Billy. Blind Billy. Blind Billy. Blind Billy. Boy, you better figure it out. You better figure it out. Because he know this dog right here came off the great Tudor's Diebold. Damn it, I'm running this shit if I got to lose every damn time. I know this is going to be the shit. This is what Floyd is on. He's on it because look what was being done back here. I can guarantee you, this man right here taught this man to believe in what he was doing. No way in the hell you gonna tell me he didn't. No way. No way. It's not like you just throwing dogs together, y'all. It's not like these dogs is being tested and all this shit. We don't see that part of the story. All we can do is look. Come on, 4 generations. 4 generations of a son of Diabo. And you're gonna watch this line right here take off. Okay, we ain't got him here. We know he got offspring. We know he went on to have offspring. Because you'll find him in a lot of pedigrees. Look at him. You see his moves? You see his moves? He took this female. Remember I said the mind frame of the breeder. The mindset of the breeder. What he doing? Reaching back. Why is he reaching back? 'Cause look what he's got. He's back here. He's bringing back here back to the front. This time he's doing it with a dog. I'm pretty sure he knew this dog. I'm pretty sure he knew exactly what he was getting ready to do when he took this female and bred to this dog here. A big part of his own foundation in this dog here. The shit this impresses me. I'm sorry, y'all. You know, when I get to talking hype about formulas and breedings, and I'm thinking of these guys, man. I'm thinking of them as you know, me personally as a bulldogger who understands clearly that wooden box syndrome. You got to understand. I'm pretty sure that they got that wooden box syndrome. This is what they're building on. They're not building on a pretty pedigree. They're building on results. Results that made a big impact to the game of today. I'm looking at all this stuff and you be like, you know, we just don't see it yet. You see, I'm trying to grab something to be able to move forward. You know what I'm saying? I might as well just cut the chase and just go ahead and grab Bully Son and go Boudreaux's Eli. Shit. Keep looking and clicking on this stuff. We know one for damn sure. Eli. Floyd Boudreaux's Eli. A major factor. Let me see what they give me. There you go. Okay, now we getting somewhere. Remember I told you I'm trying to look for some offspring off of scrub there, and you know, I just cut the chase. I was trying to lead y'all there by clicking on him, but I had to go find him. There he is. Look at that pedigree. Look at that pedigree. That's a Floyd move. Floyd acting like he Earl Tudor now. You don't see a Carver in there. You don't see Maurice Carver in there nowhere. He's running around here making his mentor moves. He's making Tudor moves. Tudor moves. Pay attention. These are Tudor moves. He's picking up from what Tudor left off at. Those are damn good breeders. Have you ever really studied this shit, y'all? Really? I have. I mean, I study this so hard, man, and that I be trying to be those people. I be trying to get into the mindset to really understand why these people making these moves so I could make them. You know, I just didn't want to be a winner. I wanted to be like these people, for real. I wanted to be like Stone City. I wanted to be like Floyd Boudreaux. I wanted to be like Earl Tudor. I wanted to be like those guys to produce me something I could go out there and win. Win with a line of dogs. Their passion had to be much because they had a bunch of dogs. More dogs than I would ever see. But just to think, man. Just to think. This dog got stolen and turned into a Mexican Eli line of dogs that came out of Mexico, so we know where he was at. We know where he was at. A lot of people know where he was at. James Crenshaw knew where he was at when he went over there and got Rascal. Yeah. He went down there and seen Floyd. Floyd sent some Mexicans over the border and came back with Rascal. Yeah, here go one right here. Yeah. Went over the border and came back with Rascal. Crenshaw's Rascal came from him going to see Floyd. Floyd sent his boys over the border into Mexico and come back with Rascal. Now y'all tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. So James Crenshaw, he's the new Floyd Boudreaux. Don't forget Bully's son. By now, look at this. You see how they pick up? Everybody's always hollering, I'm trying to make my own mix of shit. I'm trying to do this. I'm going to do that. Well, damn it. I'm being a copycat. Just like they was. Just like they was. Somebody's trying to throw their own shit together. You believe me, you know how much nasty shit you got to taste before you find the right shit that you want to make? I ain't trying to eat a bunch of bullshit before I get there. I'm trying to get there the quickest way by learning what they did to get there. So evidently, I took pride into giving them their righteous respect. To respect them enough that I wanted to be like Mike. And didn't give a damn about what anybody else said about what, and I don't hesitate to tell you I copy. I'm pretty sure Floyd ain't gonna be afraid to tell you I copy. I learned from Earl. I watched Earl. Can say the same thing about Carver, sneaking back and forth on Earl's yards, taking him some breathings here and there. He had to be doing something enough to be able to do that. He had to be doing something to be able to do that. He had to appreciate Earl Tudor. Look at the pedigrees. I'm telling you. The man started making some shit. I mean, you can't knock him. Who produced Clayton's Eli Jr.? Who produced Bully's son? The father of the goddamn Honey Bunch. Yeah. Uh-huh. Let's go pull him up. Look at old Barney Five and Jack Kelly and Fat Bill and Lefty Hughes, old Mountain Man, the whole crew. They look at all under AKN Mountain Man. Old Lonzo, Jack Kelly, Barney Five, tattoo. This is all old bulldog, man. And look at old Fat Bill sitting down in there with all them great boys. You know, being another Floyd Boudreaux when he was hanging around there with Maurice Carver and old Tudor. He came up with his own line of shit, too. You see it. Oh, Bolero. Oh, Buzzsaw Patches. Breeding the Eli. Floyd, Eli, Fat Bill, breeding his bitch to the great Eli. Tell me he wasn't copying. Tell me he wasn't sitting in the same chair like Floyd Boudreaux when he got him a son off of Tudor's dive bowl. All of them got a dream. All of them got a plan, and they all copied. Don't let them tell you nothing different. They all copied. They was paying attention. They saw a formula. They played with it. They hung around with it. It wouldn't meant shit if they wasn't going to that wooden square. The wooden square, where all your damn questions will be answered. Bolero! Bolero! Okay? Look at that look at him. Young man looking like old Floyd Boudreaux up there when he got his first taste of love. Come on now. This man been around all the great guys. He was the right color to be around all them great guys. He had all the right people in this pedigree to become a winner. Remember, I told y'all about this move here. Floyd Boudreaux got this dog for James Crenshaw. Whether the story was true or not, I believe the story. I believe the story. Yeah. This dog came off from over the border. Sent to him by Floyd Boudreaux. Sent him over the border, came back. This is what he brought home. Another young man. Messing around. Hanging out. Like old Floyd was doing with Earl and Maurice. Another great dog man. Followed the same old trend. Now we putting color. This is when the game started getting interesting because now we starting to throw color. Y'all hearing me? Is y'all hearing me? I need to know. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Because I am in the grind now. I'm inside the box understanding clearly what's happening here. Because evidently this shit was going on before we start adding color. We just ain't got the reports to prove it. But you can damn near best believe there was some shit jumping off. There was some shit jumping off. Now look at us. We still messing around with that Fitzwater's Goldie. Evidently, somebody was paying attention. Paying attention. Oh man, I see all these muscles and all this shit. Mike pointing this shit out to me. Man, I must be preaching. I'm sounding like Mike, or am I sounding like Mo? I don't know. Damn it, I feel like I'm Mike right now. I'm preaching. God damn it, I'm preaching. Look at the breedings. Look how they doing it. Look at this. Look how I just took Eli. Flooding the damn gates with this shit. Using these losers. Using losers. Can you hear me? Losers. And it ain't but one damn champion in this damn pedigree. One. Oh, Fitzwater's Goldie. And we already know about him. I keep trying to tell y'all. That little golden key, that mug right there, spread out to do a whole lot to this dog game. Messing around with these boys. These boys got a hold of that and they roll with it. They roll with it. But you see it. Here come the making of greatness. Using it like a pro. Using it like a pro. And check that out. See the breed? Who did it? Reese Carver. Now you tell me something. Now that this is when it all began. This is when it all began. Dogs like this, look, Carver's Black Shine, Carver's Orphan Annie. Who don't know those dogs? I'm going this way first. You don't see me running over there to the bully son yet. Eli Jr. was a 2-time winner. Right? You don't even see ROM under his name. You don't see ROM nowhere under his name. But Lord have mercy, look at this boy. We know who he is now. Clayton's Eli Jr. It's stamped into the dog game historically. All coming from Floyd Diaz, killing us with Blind Billy. Killing us with it. And we still don't know if this is a Kerr move here. We don't know if this was a LXL game or XL quit. But he was still using him. Using him like fresh water. Using the hell out of him. The man was on to something. Kept on losing. Ain't seen a winner yet. Boy, here they come. Boy, here they come. Who wouldn't want Grand Champion Art? Tell me one of y'all wouldn't have took Grand Champion Art with the brother, Champion Hurt. Grandsire, Grand Champion Angus, Grand Champion Mike, Champion Chinaman, Champion Moeller Jr., Champion Rascal, 2 Champion Lukes. What? Yet I can go over to Bully Son and do the same damn thing. Litter mates. Floyd Boudreaux became famous because he was hanging out with Earl Tudor and Maurice Carver. Going Hard became famous because he was hanging out with Stone City and Victor Acart. Period. Came in the game playing with Floyd Boudreaux, James Edwards, Atlas Brewer. I'm looking like Fat Bill and I'm a darkie. I'm feeling like them. In my early years in the game, not understanding shit, sitting right there amongst all that greatness until I got there with old James Pope, somebody who could really mingle with these old guys. You know, he had a white wife. He had a nice personality. He was real funny. And they could relate to him. A hood-ass nigga brother like me, they wouldn't understand me. Don't be for sure, Pa. I probably wouldn't even never hung out with none of them. Because I'm wilding. I'm a Marine. I'm wild out. But Timber, September. I mean, real laid back, riding around with the sheriff, stopping in here dealing with and seeing all these people. But look what they was doing, man. See how fast Floyd popped up, man? He started bringing color. His line of dogs started bringing color. Color. Grand Champion Art. Divine's Patty. Orphan Annie 2. Pete Carver's Black Shine. Hurt. Eli 3. I'm falling out all over the damn place looking at this shit. Ooh, what? What? You got to love this, man. I do. I swear I do. Because I learned. James Pope taught me this shit, and I figured it out. Using these dogs right here. These are the line of dogs that I came in messing with. That rascal stuff. That snooty shit. Not understanding nothing but to learn this pedigree. Learn how they did it from Earl Tudor on up. Diabo, I used to have a goddamn picture of Diabo. Down there, had a picture, nothing but of Diabo, because it was like Diabo was the foundation dog of all American fighting dogs. The way Pope take a bus and he'd get on that mug and he'll ride it till the wheels fall off. And he was riding the hell out of Tudor's Diabo. Riding it. Yeah, I'm telling you, when I came home with Judo and them, he didn't, and I saw his dog, and I seen his dog over there in Alice Brewer's yard. The man took me under his wing and treated me like a friend. Damn near a friend of a son. You know what I'm saying? Exactly what he did. Greatness. Pure greatness. Now I'm going to go to his brother. Here we go. We still losing, though. We still losing. Now, how you going to tell me you got two-time winner, one-time loser? Legitimate brother to Clayton's Eli Jr. But look at this black boy right here. That's a registered merit. You don't see that up here. Better see it here. You'll see it here, right here. Back in them days, it didn't take but 3 champions to be a registered merit. There he is, right there. One of the greatest producing dogs of all times. You best believe Floyd Boudreaux is happy as hell that he ran across Maurice Carver and Earl Tudor. Trust me on that. And I know what it feel like and what it look like. I never got to this point right here where I was able to do this shit. No. But I left enough blood out there where everybody else was able to do it. I got a taste of what it felt like to look back and see somebody else winning with my shit. Huh. Huh. Give me a couple 100s on that one. Damn it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I copied. They did too. They learned by copying. And look at their results. If it worked for them, it's supposed to work for me. And guess what? That's a true formula right there in them words. Think it ain't. We ain't got to feed a whole bunch of dogs these days to get these kind of dogs, do we, y'all? We ain't got to do all that these days because it was all done in the background of the dogs that we getting. The work has already been done. All we can do is make it better. That's all he did. More of it is what he did. Because all this shit is color. Every bit of this is color. Everything right here is this color. With a bunch of damn dogs that couldn't win shit. Come on. Pay attention. Tell me if I'm lying. Get anybody a chance to correct me if they don't. She was off a bully sign. Yeah. G's mama, was off a bully sign. Yeah, man, that means it's amazing.
Vendetta say, pop your shit, twin.
I'm popping it, baby. I'm popping it. Thank you, man. Let me know I'm doing it, because that's all I need to hear. Because I'm feeling it, baby. I'm feeling it. This is the shit that I came into the game playing with. I believe in these black ass dogs, y'all. I'm telling you. Then you can tell me that I had a brindle dog off of Molly being snooty and I didn't understand what I had. No, I didn't. Until I met James Pope. He liked my shit. And he knew all these great dudes. So, I rode the bus with him. I did. The only difference is I'm going to be a match man. I want to go in the box. Damn all this shit you talking. I'm down there whooping everybody up in North Carolina and come home and get my ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? I know I ain't doing something right. I'm going to be up there looking like Floyd Boudreaux in a minute with a bunch of goddamn losers that I got to breed. I need somebody to know how to match some damn dogs. Thank God for Ohio Cash. It ain't nothing if you knowing how to breed and knowing what your dogs look like when they breeding and you can't win with them. What I was doing in North Carolina was just beating up on some great dogs because they was their dogs. Didn't realize the real way of doing it. I could have had me a grand champion in Carolina. Blood, BA, bruiser, and judo. And solo. If I'd have been a little bit better seasoned, I had too many great dogs at an early part of the game for me. Didn't get it. I didn't get it. I had to end up starting all over again. And one thing they couldn't take away from me is what I learned. It's what I had to figure out. And by doing that, put me in the same range as these guys. I got a chance to see what it felt like to have a great dog sitting between my damn legs. I had a chance to see what it felt like to have produced me some good shit that could win between my legs. I didn't have to look like Floyd with a bunch of losers. Breeding a bunch of losers to finally get me some winners. But I started off that way, sure the hell did, just like Floyd did. Just like Floyd did, and became legendary just like Floyd did. Maybe not as great as none of these guys, but I got a taste of what it felt like and what it looked like. Look at that, man. Look at that. Now we got color. Now we dealing with color. Ain't that something, y'all? 2 litter mates, Clayton Eli Jr. and Walling's bully son. 2 dogs. Changed the game. Who don't know about that Kimmer shit? Kimmer did the same thing. He latched on and he ran with his shit, and he's legendary. Mr. Kimmer's a legendary dog man. James Crenshaw, legendary dog man. Becker Davis, legendary dog man. Ringing names with Floyd Boudreaux. How in the hell you gonna lose that, man? You're not gonna lose that, man, when you learning that. You can only elevate. Elevate. This is elevation to the highest level. 51, 28, and an hour 19. Definitely game. Game enough to become one of the best producing bitch of all times. We see all these grand champions down there, but let me pull up Jeep and let me see how many grand champions I can pull up off a Jeep. Huh? Yeah. That's right. Off of Jeep. Charlie got one. Whether he belonged to Angus or Charlie was one of the other grand champion A's. That's a whole damn little right here. Jeep, Charlie, Missy, and Holly, and Polly. Damn. Look at the breeding. The student now is the teacher. The student now is the teacher. Tell me what I'm talking about, y'all. Tell me y'all don't see the formula. Tell me we don't see them copying off each other. Tell me y'all don't see what these guys took in and learned and elevated the game. Seeing a whole bunch of black shit back here, but oh boy, that shit's looking pretty colorful coming up to the front. A whole lot of colorful shit going on up in the front now, y'all. I know you hear me. Who's that with the eyeball? Somebody got all eyes on me? Yes, sir. Vendetta. Vendetta. Yes, sir. All eyes on me. Feel that, fellas. Tell me that. Do we need to go any further? We know the outcome to this story. We know the outcome to this story. This bitch produced the greatest producing male of all times. Why, she's the greatest her damn self? Her son, G. You can't go sleeping on none of this stuff here. Don't forget Frisco. Oh, don't even think about forgetting Frisco. Frisco falls in this category of dogs here. Pay attention. Frisco. Tonight we riding on these dogs. Gonna come back and I'm gonna bring you back to Katie Marlowe and them Red Boy dogs and how Fletcher, Mr. Fletcher Shavers did with the Red Boy dogs, the same damn thing you see these dudes doing with these dogs. David Tan took his shit and did the same thing that he saw him doing with his shit, he did with Yellow. Shavers the shit out of his shit. Bought some shit in here to contend with these bulldogs. All of them had a connection. All of them got a relationship. All of them got a part of history. But tonight, we on this black shit. I'm going to put it right there, Mike. I'm going to leave that note right there for the touch of history, y'all. I want to leave it just like that. Don't want to give you guys too much. I want you guys, when you take time out, go back and really look at this shit. It's not a hard thing to look at. But you really want to be a breeder, a damn good breeder, a real damn good breeder. I gave y'all a piece of jewel today for y'all to study, boy. And boy, it's a playbook. It's a playbook to win championships. It's a playbook to damn near look like the goddamn New England Patriots. You play the book right because you got it right there in front of you. If anybody asks you, man, all you doing is doing well all day, you damn right. Make your own. Why I got to make my own when I can win with what they doing? I don't want to make my own. I want to win. I'm going to do exactly what they do to do what get there like they got there. I'm going to use what they using because everything is working. I just want to be there. I just want to feel it. I just want to know what it feels like. I'm feeding this shit. I'm taking chances with this shit. I'm sweating and blood and losing families and everything else for that hunger to feel it. It's called scratching. Scratching the wind, damn it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I get off on that, man. I really do, people. I really get off on that. Gotta tell you the truth, man. When I sit down and write this book, man, y'all gonna read this shit in my words. You're gonna read this shit in my words because once I caught the hourglass to be able to see through it as time running on, I was able to become part of that hourglass because I understood it. I figured it out because I was taught. I was paying attention. Why was I paying attention so hard? Because I wanted to be like them. I want to be like Mike. I might not never be as great as Mike, but I know what it feels like to be Mike. I'm done. Thank y'all, man, for riding out with me, man. Thank y'all for putting up with me. Thank y'all for listening to me. Get your school books together, man. Go back and read this shit. Learn it, understand it, and believe it because I can't change a thing. What you see is what it is.
Hey, that's why in history, y'all, is so important. It is so important because we can't go back there and change none of that. We might have our different feelings and the different stories behind it, but the fact is you can't change nothing back there. But you got to learn to appreciate the results because that's what we lived off of. That's what we live by. And that hunger to learn. Remember, I started this show off. What was my favorite? What was the dog that I fell in love with that I just had to go see? Ironhead. That's how this conversation started because that was the dog that in North Carolina they was talking about Ironhead.
Yes, there was.
Remember, we didn't know what we had, but it was just one of them things that, you know, when Mo started getting the Crenshaw books and starting to figure out all these different names and who these people are and who these dogs were, I ran off and over here and I'm going after Searchy Jeff and going like Barney and
yeah,
Ironhead.
It was Stratton.
That was the Stratton book. Okay,
Yeah, it's the Stratton.
Stratton book. Okay.
I had every single one of them too.
Yeah, but this is early in your career that, you know, when you don't know no better, but you learn, you craft, and truly can appreciate when we look back on all that. You know, fellas, all I can say is we learned a lot and we had fun. You know, We learned a lot and we had fun. You know, a lot of y'all might not have known who we was, but back in that time period, you would have known who we was. If you was doing anything, you would have known who we was.
Yeah, you would have got some of this beef. Shit.
You know, because look at the people we ran with. In order to get amongst them, we had to have the product to be able to hang with them. To do the things that they was doing, to have the success that they was having. That's why it was easy for us to pick up what everybody else was doing, because we had the chance to see what greatness looked like. Study that. Study the Abraham. Study McNasty. Study all of them. Hardcore. Mama. Loctite. I mean the list goes on. I mean, the list goes on. Just take a little bit from everybody, because they all had some type of greatness. They did it their own way. And you notice something? That every last one of them had somebody that mentored them. Everybody had somebody that mentored them, which that goes back to the old that old statement, Mo. Hey, twin, remember this. Legends make legends. Whatever you do, make sure you pass it
down.
Pass it forward.
Yep, pass it forward. Yes, sir.
And you know what? I have yet to find any flaws in those statements.
Amen.
There aren't any. So I thought the reason I didn't put that in title, because I felt like we don't need clickbait. I don't want to put something out there for clickbait. Tonight we was just going to be open discussion, and we were just going to roll with it, because for us, at least for me, you know, I go back many, many years when we talk about these dogs. But when we talk about the now, I go back to that press conference. And I'm just like, you know what? We can keep saying this time after time until, you know, the end of time.
Right.
When you got a problem, you don't fix it, you're going to keep having a problem. And long as the problem keeps getting worse the way it is and nobody's giving a reason to have anything positive to say, the eradication of these dogs is going to be possible simply because we're still living off what made these dogs even worth talking about. And I mean, we way back there. Because everything back there, we can always bring it all the way to the front and relate to why we still talking about it. History don't lie, and we sure as hell ain't lying about what we telling you either. So, again, appreciate everybody for showing up and showing out tonight. Sorry we were a little late tonight. Mo worked late, and so did I. But we still showed up to show out. And fellas, just take this. If you don't do nothing but just take a little bit of what we talk about and just apply it to whatever you're trying to do when it comes to dealing with these dogs. Because, again, these dogs aren't meant to just sit on a chain. They never were meant to just sit on the chain and look pretty.
Or papered up.
Oh, papered up. They all had a purpose back then. And it is what it is. So, understanding that part of the game and understanding the history, only you can make your own future. You know, and your future going to become your history one day. I'm just, you know, it's always funny to me that when I look back on our history, you know, we would have never thought that we would be, you know, talked or be able to see the outcome of dogs that we created that were still able to go out after our untimely exit out the game, but had the right dogs in the right hands, and they did the same thing for other people that they was doing for us. So it's good for us to just sit back and look and say that, hey, we know we was on the right track. We didn't have no choice but to be on the right track based on the people who taught us. So just keep the little things in mind, y'all, because there was at one time that we used to be y'all. Yeah.
Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up.
Yeah, go ahead, dude. That's the first time.
Thumbs up, down, thumbs up, thumbs up. Give me some of that, y'all.
Thumbs up, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Muscles, muscles, muscles. Now, give us some damn roses. Roses. We need them damn roses.
Now, come on, y'all.
Show some love.
Come on, show some love for y'all slime up out of here. Ain't nobody throwing nothing in no Cash App. Ain't nobody throwing nothing in no Super Chat. Or just, look, use your damn fingers and feed me. Feed me.
I'm trying to tell you, show some love. Because, again, we made it. And I want to keep on making it. We're going to be doing some revamping here. Again, I always tell you we're going to be doing something. But, again, only time will tell. If the Lord permit it, we'll get it done. But, hey, look, put forth the effort, man. Show some love so we can give that love that we are actually held to a standard of doing the best that we can do as far as giving back. Never understood what that giving back shit meant. I kind of got an understanding of it now.
That's just being out here with you guys.
That's the part. Well, our proteges and them, you know.
Our proteges, they stand tall.
They stand tall. I mean, like I said, we let them tell their story. They come where they can tell their story. It's not meant for us to tell their story. But it's just good to know that they got a story. And to know that we are part of their story. See, that takes me back to like Floyd and Maurice Carver and Earl Tudor. You know what I'm saying? Man, you know, okay. Hey, man, hey, look, it's something that, you know, regardless of what people say or people think, this is the community, and this community should always stand 10 toes down. There's not perfection in any and everything you do, but then that shouldn't matter. What should matter is what kind of dog man you trying to be. What kind of dogs are you trying to have? What are you doing to make this line better? That's the question that only you guys are going to ever have the answers. All we can do is talk about the past. It's up to y'all to make your own futures. Until
Dog of the night. Dog man, dog of the night, dog man and all. There he is.
my man.
My man. One time winner, one time card loser, one time game loser. I can't tell you, but boy, he's the man. Mr. Floyd Boudreaux and his blind Billy dog. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, man. I enjoyed doing it. I'm tired, wore out. I ain't in the best of health, but I'm hanging in there. It just seems like I'm just staying tired a lot. I get everything I had tonight to put into this show. And just being in here with y'all guys made me be in that corner like that damn scratching ass Jeep dog. You know what I'm saying? Damn it, I'm tired, but I'm scratching, baby. Your money is good as long as I'm coming out that corner. I will continue doing that until I can't do it no more.
So y'all, y'all know what? Until Friday, y'all stay safe. Big shout out to all my people in the Shark Tank. Didn't get a chance to do your name thing because by the time I got in here today, my phone went dead. I can't be over there at the computer and be over here yelling across trying to read names. But y'all forgive me. I'm due at least one forgive for that. But just for all of y'all, appreciate y'all showing up. Again, big shout out to all my people out there in the Shark Tank. Y'all don't forget to hit them like buttons. Don't forget about them boys in the back street. Got them visors, baby. You know what the ones I'm talking about. Be safe, be right, and be real. Be real with it. Stay safe.
Don't forget, guys, all y'all. To all y'all. You got to always.
He said it. He said, always.
Scratch the win, baby.
That's it.
The only way to get it there,
That's
fella.
2W,
That's
baby.
2W, baby.
Act
All
like
day.
you know, man.
Love y'all, man.
See y'all Friday.
Peace.